Realism and Neoclassical Realism. Introduction. Explain the basic assumptions of realism, including the causes of actors' behavior and their interests. Distinguish between different forms of realism, classical and structural, neo-realism. Background theory in IR. The basic problem in trying to understand international politics is that there is so much material to look at, as such it is difficult to know which things matter and which do not. How, for example, would you explain 9/11, or the 2003 invasion of Iraq? Why did Al-Qaeda attack the U.S.? Why did American and British leaders authorize the attack on Saddam Hussein's Iraq? As you know, there are very different answers to questions such as these, and there seems no easy way of arriving at a definite answer to them. Whenever individuals are faced with such a challenge, they have to resort to theories. What is a theory? It is a grand formal model with hypotheses and assumptions. It is some form of simplifying device that allows you to decide which facts matter and which do not. A good analogy is with sunglasses with different colored lenses. Put on the red pair and the world looks red. Put on the blue pair and the world looks blue. The world is not any different. It just looks different. Well, so with theories. No single theory reliably explains the wide range of international politics, but one theoretical framework has historically held a central position in the study of IR. Realism. It is favored by some IR scholars and vigorously challenged by others. Realism explains international relations in terms of power foundations. The principle of dominance developed in reaction to a liberal tradition that realists called idealism. Idealism emphasizes international law, morality, and international organizations as key influences on international events. Human nature is basically good. International system is a community of states with the potential to work together to overcome mutual problems. Idealists were particularly active between World War I and World War II. Long tradition of realism: Sun Tzu, Thucydides, Machiavelli, Hobbes, Morgenthau. Elements of realism. Basic realist ideas and assumptions are a pessimistic view of human nature, a conviction that international relations are necessarily conflictual and that international conflicts are ultimately resolved by war, a high regard for the values of national security and state survival, a basic skepticism that there can be progress in international politics that is comparable to that in domestic political life. According to Smith 2012, the three core assumptions of realism are groups: egoism and power centralism. These ideas and assumptions steered the thought of most leading realist IR theorists. Source: Jackson and Sorensen, 2007, p. 60. Elements of realism. For realists, the main actors on the world stage are states, which are legally sovereign actors. Other actors all have to work within the framework of interstate relations. Less important. As for what propels states to act as they do, realists see human nature as key. For realists, human nature is selfish, thus the desire to enjoy an advantage over others and to avoid domination by others is universal. As a result, world politics represents a struggle for power between states, each trying to maximize their national interests. Such order exists in world politics as the result of the workings of a mechanism known as the balance of power. This obtains when states act to prevent any one state from dominating. Thus, world politics is all about bargaining in alliances. Elements of realism. Diplomacy is a key tool for balancing various national interests, but the most important tool available for implementing states' foreign policies is military force. Since the international system is anarchical, world politics is a self-help system. The ends can be achieved through cooperation, but the potential for conflict is ever present. Neo-realism has emerged and emphasizes the importance of the structure of the international political system in affecting the behavior of states. For example, the Cold War led to certain rules of behavior. Thucydides, Machiavelli, Hobbes, and indeed all classical realists, share the view of power politics. For them, international politics is an arena of rivalry, conflict, and war between states. Classical realist theory is primarily a theory of survival. Thucydides, who lived in the era of ancient Greek city-states, the brand of realism, was a naturalist. He believed that states were highly unequal in their powers and capabilities, and as such he edged them to adapt in order to survive. He professes the ethics of caution and prudence as well as foresight and good judgment if a country is to survive and prosper. In his study of the Peloponnesian War, 431–404 BC, argues that justice in international relations is not about the equal treatment but knowing your proper place. Classical realism. Machiavelli, the prince. Power and deception are the two essential means for the conduct of foreign policy. Main responsibility of rulers is to seek the advantages and defend the interests of their states and thus ensure their survival. Statesmen must be both lions, strong, and foxes, astute, cunning. The overriding Machiavellian assumption is that the world is a dangerous place but also an opportune place too. The conduct of foreign policy is based on the intelligent calculation of one's power and interests against those of rivals and competitors. Moral ethics is the height of political irresponsibility. The fundamental values are the security and survival of the state. Summary of classical realism. First, they agree that the human condition is a condition of insecurity and conflict which must be addressed and dealt with. Secondly, they agree that there is a body of political knowledge to deal with the problem of security and survival. Finally, they agree that there is no escape or permanent solution from this human condition, insecurity and conflict, which is permanent. This pessimistic view is at the heart of the IR theory of the leading neoclassical realist of the 20th century. Neoclassical realism. Morgenthau, 1948. Politics among nations. Men and women are by nature political animals, born to pursue power and enjoy the fruits of power. Animus dominandi. The ultimate political space within which security can be arranged and enjoyed is the sovereign state. The human animus dominant inevitably brings humanity into conflict, power politics. If people desire to enjoy a political space from foreign threats, they will have to mobilize and deploy their power for that purpose.